Hey everybody, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. Some headlines just hit, just managing things as the markets drop. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We're going to talk about the rotation we're seeing today from metals into crypto and what we need to be watching if it's going to be for real. One day is not enough, but it's a good start. Learn how to trade stocks, crypto, and hype sectors with a global chat room led by professional traders, as well as daily live streams at chartguys.com. All right, so the headline that just hit was Trump saying, maybe there won't be a meeting with, the Chinese president. So we just dropped right at all-time highs. Nothing massive, hourly consolidation now underway, but expected. Why expected? Because you get used to the headline game. And 8 days ago, I said one headline to keep an eye out for is regarding Trump. The meeting, October 31st, anything that puts that in question would be bearish. So this is that reaction. So we'll keep an eye on it, but it's definitely hitting crypto a bit in the short term and everything. But we'll see if bears, this is a sucker punch, perfect definition. NASDAQ bulls have full control. We're grinding up and then a big drop. Do we confirm a 5-minute downtrend is the question that lets us know if this bearish reaction is meaningful and has follow through or not. So we'll keep an eye on that as we progress here in the stream. But again, overall, worst case scenario, we see daily consolidation and there's a lot of space for a daily higher low on the NASDAQ. We are knocking on the door of the all-time high as we speak. And the timing, of course, perfect. Right at the high of yesterday, the headlines start flowing. So we'll check back in on that in just a moment. But again, looking at Bitcoin, 5-minute time frame, it's doing the same thing. That said, look at the 15-minute chart. I mean, this is very healthy consolidation. We just went straight up. The RSI on Bitcoin 15-minute time frame was just upper 80s. So nothing unusual there and still relative strength. Good sign overall. And I want to see back burners start working. We're not in a back burner environment in the sense that we're still in a daily downtrend for Bitcoin, but you will often see that start happening. So for example, right now, can 2-minute oversold mark the 15-minute higher low off EMA 12? If the answer is yes, great sign. And again, I wouldn't define that as a 2-minute back burner, but there have been times, and the example I've been giving recently is the NASDAQ at the end of 2023 went into melt up mode. And it started, one of the comments I made when this was happening was, we're trading as if we're blue sky breakout, and we're not. And that's because short-term back burners were working to mark the longer-term higher lows. So it doesn't meet the definition of a back burner, but it can give us clues in terms of strength. Does it show us there's a significant amount of buying from bulls on the sidelines still looking for positions? So something to keep an eye out for. But overall, the way that we're viewing things, it was a thesis the last week. We're expecting a metals top in the near term. When that happens, do we see rotation into crypto? Because as I pointed out many times on these streams, thanks for the likes and the comments. I'll get to those in just a moment. But as I pointed out many times in this stream, these streams, over the last year and a half, there have been glaring periods of metals break out while Bitcoin's consolidating. Bitcoin breaks out while metals are consolidating. And so this could be a potential shift. It's also a potential self-fulfilling prophecy. A lot of people say TA is a technical analysis, self-fulfilling prophecy. Sure, to some degree. And other people say, why would someone give out their edge as a trader to, the herd or retail? My answer is, because if I'm playing back burners and they make me money, I want as many people to be using back burners as possible, because that means we're more likely to bounce from those oversold conditions in the right criteria. So absolutely, I want more people doing that. So what I would love to see is continued rotation, have them talk about it on CNBC, and put that idea into everybody's heads. So as I was saying last week, I'm watching for this. This is my thesis. It doesn't mean I am going aggressive, assuming it's going to happen, but a day like today gives us really nice signs that it is happening. And that's just because gold is down big after a double top at all-time highs. Biggest red day on gold in a long time. Silver down 8%, huge dump. And while that's taking place, Bitcoin started the day weak and then had a very significant turnaround right after the stock market opened. So again, this has been going on now for 3 hours. We need this to be going on for 3 weeks. So just to start, the way I'm viewing the Bitcoin daily chart is anything under 116,000 is a daily lower high, 116.1. And I'm watching for a potential inverse head and shoulders. If we fail 116s, we then got to form a daily higher low and a higher high. But so far so good as far as a solid green day. And you can also be watching Bitcoin divided by GC gold futures. And we're seeing a big green day. So this is the most significant rotation in one day that we've seen in months. So that's a good start. Look at the monthly chart. It's defending support. So we want to see Bitcoin divided by gold continue to go up 30 plus. We need a daily uptrend to confirm. We can treat this just like TA. When we top out, we got to confirm a daily uptrend to keep this move going. But that is one of the tools that you are using to see if the thesis is continuing to play out. Does the Bitcoin divided by gold chart keep bouncing? That's what we want to see. Dominance chart is still going up. We are watching for a monthly lower high on the dominance chart, but may take a while. Still a weekly stair step, higher low every week. So, possible, again, we laid out an ideal scenario before the Friday liquidation dump. And that ideal scenario was Bitcoin all-time high with some follow-through, 130, 140. Dominance goes up with that to set a monthly lower high. And then altcoins make their move and follow Ethereum all-time high. Altcoins lead to a big breakout, and that leads to monthly head and shoulders on the dominance chart. It happened a bit differently. It happened with everything dumping and alts getting smashed for that dominance bounce, but the thesis still is potentially there. That's something I'm watching out for as well. All right, Ethereum. Ethereum was a tightening daily equilibrium that broke bull. You can zoom in on the 12-hour and see it a little bit better. But whenever you break an equilibrium on one time frame, just zoom out to the next. And so I go to the 2-day and I remind myself, well, if we don't break 42.96, let's just call it 43. If we don't break 4,300, it's just a lower high to keep tightening up on a different time frame. And so watching for that to potentially be a possibility. And ETH is pulling back a bit more significantly. Yeah, this is NASDAQ's bouncing well in this moment. So yeah, ETH BTC dropping here. It's a big drop. One thing I'm watching on ETH BTC is this daily range. We have not confirmed a daily uptrend yet. I want to see a monthly higher low form on ETH BTC in the first confirmed monthly uptrend in years. But we got to confirm a daily uptrend, and we just failed to do so. Reject from resistance, and now we're testing support. So why I'm watching this chart is, should I be focusing on Bitcoin for rotation, or should I be focusing on ETH for rotation? And in this moment, the answer is Bitcoin. If this sideways range on ETH BTC breaks bear, it will continue to be Bitcoin. This has to break bull to tell me ETH is the better place to be looking. So maybe Bitcoin's the better place to be looking first, and then ETH after that. We've certainly seen that style of rotation before. So that's something to be keeping an eye out for. All right, miners, crypto stocks. So I'm watching CLSK with extended hours, and I'm watching for a potential 4-hour equilibrium. And I'm also aware that some of these charts that have been running really hard, look at this weekly chart. CLSK just went up almost 200%, 180% or whatever, since our last weekly consolidation. So that tells me a number of things. Number one, a weekly higher low is the most likely scenario. But number two, don't be surprised when weekly consolidation takes place. It's inevitable. And so I'm watching this 4-hour chart to see, can the bulls hold this extended hours low of 1712 to keep tightening up here into the end of the week. But we have other names like Riot holding on a bit better. Still in consolidation mode here. Weekly consolidation has already begun, but we will be watching for weekly higher lows on these names. And again, the way I'm breaking down crypto stocks is OG miners, you can just say miners, treasury companies, and then pretty much everything else, like Coin and MSTR is treasury, Coin and whatever else. Gemini is now a thing. So we're consolidating. Again, a tightening range, MARA, just an equilibrium. Low, high, higher low, lower high. You can zoom in on the 4 hour. How does it look? Pretty good, tightening 4 hour range. But I'm being a little bit more patient on the names that have been running. A name like Coin has not been running. So I'm not interested in Coin unless bulls convincingly tell me this is the spot to be looking. We've been consolidating on Coin now for months after its S&P 500 inclusion run that we had. As I've mentioned many times, I'm not interested in MSTR because I believe the premium continues to fade. There will be shifts, there'll be weekly bounces within that, and we could potentially form a monthly higher low on MSTR. And I anticipate that's the most likely scenario. High, low, lower high, scouting that higher low. But again, I'm going to be looking elsewhere if my feeling is that the premium is going to continue to erode. And if we just look at MSTR divided by Bitcoin, we can see that the premium, just this past week, 3 days ago, the premium hit the lowest level that it has been in many, many, many months. Lowest level in a year. So for that reason, I'm going to be keeping an eye on miners a bit more than other things for their weekly higher lows. As far as altcoins, solid green out there. But again, tons of work to do. One day is not enough. You look at a bunch of these names and they're still in tightening ranges, just like ETH is. We've got our low of the capitulation, our high of the bounce, our higher low. And again, as we know, probably talked about it last stream, you just look for tightening ranges. After a liquidation event or after a blow off top, you look for tightening ranges one time frame to the next. We were watching for it on the 4 hour, then the 12 hour, then the daily. And I think I was talking about the 2 day time frame last stream. Once the 12 hour gives us a conclusion of this tightening range, zoom out to the 2 day time frame. And so CRV, 2 day time frame, again, it's just where we came from, low of the dump, top of the bounce, higher low. This tightening range can take us into next week, and then we'll watch to see the direction these tightening ranges break. But a ton of these altcoins are in these tightening ranges. There's Sand. I mean, you just go down the list. INJ, APT. What's Binance doing? I haven't looked at Binance in a couple days. So yeah, 2 day time frame, trying to set the higher low. Actually, it's already set. Now we scout a lower high. So again, just tightening ranges. Burden on bulls. Let's not forget that, right? Stick that in the back of our head. These bulls got to prove to us that we are seeing any kind of meaningful shift because the altcoins are still very shaky and Bitcoin's still a daily downtrend. So again, everything that we're talking about needs more follow through. Today is just a start that tells us, hey, pay a little bit of closer attention because these are the signs you're looking for. But we need days, weeks. The correlation, the inverse correlation between gold and Bitcoin that I'm watching is on weekly and monthly charts. So I need to see it transpire over the next, through November. All right, reading the chat. Everything is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm okay with that to a degree. Hive. So again, some more of these miners. So again, weekly high or low. Well, hasn't started yet, but 2 weekly inside bars. We will look for a weekly higher low eventually. Don't love that rejection. Yeah, I mean, that's the zone. You get over that zone and you're at, smooth sailing as far as a lack of resistance. But I do consider that a rejection. The price did break 753, but very briefly. So that's the wall. It's a wide wall, a 10% range. But again, just patiently watching. Man, ETH is selling off. Giving it back. Gross. Hourly consolidation underway. So, Hive. Weekly I'm watching for weekly higher lows. And again, 4-hour tightening range, because a lot of these crypto stocks have a low from last Friday that is not on the daily charts. And so I would be keeping an eye on those levels because, again, this is, you could be viewing this as a 4-hour potential equilibrium if 461 can hold. GLXY looks different. Nice sign to break bull there. We confirmed a daily downtrend with 0 follow through, which means scout a potential flag. Now the bull flag has confirmed with 0 follow through. But we could say it's clearly a lead bull because none of the other names I've looked at have broken their high. BKKT, bear break on the daily. Weekly consolidation underway. I don't like BKKT liquidity personally. But I don't like its history of pump and dumps. I mean, we get these big, hard, fast moves that don't hold. And so, big, hard, fast, high volume move, we just got to be cautious that it doesn't just do the same thing it's done every other single time. So that's another reason that I don't love it. Just makes me a little bit more uneasy. But we will look for a weekly higher low. Bulls need to hold a back test here. We're just now getting to this zone. Back test of this previous resistance. Need to hold this as support. Just need to ensure that if we do the same thing that the chart has shown us 6 other times in the last 2 years, that it won't significantly hurt us. So why I'm going to interpret this question. So why did I predict that headline with the Trump meeting potentially being a bearish headline to be watching for? The reason is that was a bullish headline. Trump said, no, the meeting's still on. And that put in a market bottom that morning. And that was this day on the NASDAQ. And we started the morning real weak. We're heading down towards the lows. And then we V-shape. And it's because pre-market, Trump made comments, the meeting's still on. We're giving hope that a deal's coming. And so I just thought, okay, now that the market is anticipating, all right, meeting's still on, what would be a bearish headline? Well, any doubt that the meeting is still on would be the opposite reaction. Zora. Very clear range. I drew these trenches probably last week's stream, a week ago. So headed up close to the resistance zone. We're now pulling back from it. Looks like we bounced off support. So yeah, let's see. I would have drawn this on the 14th. I might have drawn it since then. But anyways, these are the trenches. Hold, 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 hold. Reject, reject, reject. So we're just still tightening up sideways. And right now we're pretty much smack dab in the middle of that range. So just got to patiently wait. You can go to the 12-hour. If we reject and pull back, we'll then look for a 12-hour higher low to try and hold it. And we can keep tightening up sideways within this range for a while. CRCL, I longed this one recently, and I stopped out because it was a rising wedge. So I longed it on this day, and I left a runner position for a monthly high or low attempt. And we did set the monthly high or low, obviously no follow through, but I really didn't like how it was reacting to breaking this resistance. Break resistance, chop around. It just wasn't convincing. And I was probably on the 4 hour drawing a rising wedge. I forget how I had it drawn, but I didn't like the reactions to bull breaks, essentially. And so now we're on the weekly, and the bulls must, it's pretty much you must break the low and you must break the high to confirm it won't be a nice and neat, clear weekly trend change, but that has to happen. If we break 108, it's definitely a red flag. It's a monthly bear flag confirming. I don't know CNM. BMNR is definitely more linked to ETH. I'm watching the 2-day equilibrium there. I'm viewing this as a double top. It was a resistance break with no follow through, but I'm viewing this as our higher low is now set. I'm looking for a lower high. And watching for this tightening range to break fairly soon. We can keep tightening up another week, but bulls need follow through. Bulls want to head back to the upper 50s to be comfortably within this tightening range. Not going to talk about rare earth metals on the crypto stream. TRAC. Just a little daily equilibrium. High, higher low, lower high. If bulls hold 62.4, they're just fine. So tightening range. If that breaks bear, it's a red flag that a temporary top is in for weekly consolidation. If that breaks bull, bulls still have it. Just the higher low guide. And bulls are hoping that we are setting that higher low right now. I've never used time. Sometimes I use seasonality. But other than that, I've never used, I use the Santa Rally seasonality because the probabilities behind that over the last 40 years are pretty staggering. Aside from that, I don't use time in my analysis. I know it's been helpful for people in crypto, so I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it's not my style. I care about trends way more. I care about price levels and trends 10 times more than time. I am not, it has no factor in my analysis whatsoever. There's plenty of others where it's their main thing. All right, I already talked CLSK, Aster. So Aster is a weak equilibrium. Low, high, higher low, lower high. So bulls doing everything they can to defend the $1 mark. And that brings me back to my penny stock days. That $1 level, whether it's resistance or support, is critical when you are battling around that zone. So this is a battle for one psychological, and the bulls must get over 126. It's a very clear lower high pattern. And if we don't break 126, the bears are going to keep their short-term control while we battle at $1 support. What's up, Miles? Yes, I covered Bitcoin first. So pump is a downtrend. lower high, lower low. It's trying to shape up a reversal, a little 12-hour inverse head and shoulder attempt. I'm going to stick with, I don't love the dinky pivot that we just did. I guess 12-hour. So if the bulls can get over 4.2, then it's a confirmed 12-hour uptrend. 4.565 is a key level right after that. But bulls definitely have a lot of proving to do to shift things here. Not many altcoins broke the low of liquidation Friday. And we did. So that definitely stands out a bit. So got to confirm the 12-hour trend change. Then I'd probably go to the 2-hour if the bulls do that, or the 2-day, I mean. And we would keep an eye out for an eventual 2-day lower high. And we need a 2-day uptrend for the first time since we topped out to have confidence that a more meaningful shift is underway. CIFR just tightening daily range. 4-hour equilibriums that I talked about. Very similar to CLSK in that regard. We're looking for a 4-hour higher low compared to the extended hours level of 1571. If we get it, we just watch the 4-hour equilibrium until it breaks end of this week or first thing next week. SNX. So someone asks, should I start watching this? The first thing I care about is what's the dollar volume. $8 million a day? No, I'm not interested. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be. If you want to focus on penny stocks, that's fine. But it's not close to meeting my criteria of interest. 12-hour tightening range. Higher low set, resistance clear. Bulls must break 188. Otherwise, we will keep consolidating. So I'm viewing this as low, high of the breakout, higher low. Not really an official lower high set just yet. But we know a lower high is the most likely scenario, so keeping an eye out for it. But the most important support for me is 130. If we break 130, weekly consolidation will be underway. You don't want to be charting the ETFs. So you don't want to chart IBIT because all you're doing is just limiting your information. You've got a Bitcoin chart that's giving you 24 hours of information. And if you're choosing to chart IBIT, you're saying, I don't need 2/3 of that info. Just give me 1/3 of the picture. It doesn't make any sense. You're charting Bitcoin. You're aligning its levels with IBIT. If you're trying to set a stop based on a Bitcoin level, then you're lining it up with IBIT. But you're charting Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is dictating your decisions. Everybody talking about everything that's not crypto. I do that all day. I talked about quantum all morning. This is a crypto stream. If you want quantum, if you want rare earth, we've got a whole community with live streams and 24-hour commentary. And there's a free trial. The heck? You just click and get in for free. XRP, tightening daily range, equilibrium. Anything under 265 is a lower high. So that's the most important level. If we reject, we keep tightening up. If that breaks bull, we zoom out to the weekly. And guess what? We're then going to watch for a weekly tightening range. But for now, that daily is picture perfect clear of an equilibrium tightening up. And it can easily tighten up into the end of the week. Let's see, ZEC, is it cooling off yet? Nope, Nice recovery. So this isn't a picture-perfect daily EMA 12 rider, but I'm still keeping an eye on it. We closed right below it before recovery. Bull break with no follow-through. Obviously, it's got relative strength just to get back to that high. Weekly stair step. So we'll say anything above 186 is a daily high or low next consolidation. Definitely want to see follow-through. We know what Bitcoin does when it breaks resistance with no follow-through, right? We don't want to see that for ZEC. So if we were to have, a couple red days in a row from here, we'd be cautious of a temporary top being set. But for now, still hanging on. What you want to see is that level become support. Let's just call it 300. You want to see 300 start holding as support tests. I'll eat the yard turkey when there's no more food in the supermarket. All right, quick check back in on the headline reaction. NASDAQ tightening up, 5-minute equilibrium. Wow, how surprising. A volatility spike resulting in a tightening range. Getting good at equilibriums is the number one thing you should do as a trader because it's the most common pattern. And Bitcoin, while that's happening, still trying for the 15-minute high or low. All right. You're watching the gold divided by Bitcoin chart. You're watching the Bitcoin downtrend. Still got to confirm a daily uptrend eventually. We've got an ETH tightening range. We need the narrative to take hold. Remember what Tom Lee and BMNR did to the narrative for ETH to shoot it up 200% all over CNBC? We need those narrative pushers to get everybody on board. And we'll check back in soon. Hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday. News was Trump saying, I don't know if we'll have a meeting with Z. Is that how you say it, Z? It's a problem when you read. I don't listen. I don't watch the news. I just read XI. See ya.